Yeah, it is. I think you're exactly right, which means probably a better...
Once again, good afternoon. David George Brooks, that gratitude guy, has been a speaker, teacher, life coach, and best-selling author for over 25 years. He is a former Nordstrom store manager and has managed in the corporate world for over 30 years. His published works include The Brooker's Daily Gratitude Journal, Happiness Starts with Gratitude, and a number of other books on gratitude. He recently shared the stage with Bill Gates Sr. at a regional conference and is currently conducting keynotes and workshops for Special Olympics, Children's Hospital, ESHS, and our U.S. military to name a few. As a result of his passion for gratitude, he has presented over 250 teachings and workshops in the past 4 years. With over 650 gratitude videos posted on YouTube, thousands of scenes and messages, and he is now considered a leading authority on gratitude and how living a life of gratitude can enhance and improve your life. He resides in Issaquah, Washington. With that, I'd like to introduce David George Brooks, and on behalf of 7th ID, I'd like to present you Mr. Coin.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Major Bento. I'd also like to thank Captain Dawn Marie Williams and a number of other individuals here who invited me to speak. This is a subject I'm extremely passionate about, as you'll find out in a second. And I'd like to start right off by asking, by show of hands, how many people here have suffered a significant personal loss in your life? Pretty similar, I'd say half. I'm fortunate enough to do this several times a week. I go from high schools to rest homes, the average age 17, 18, up to 90, 95. 90, 95, everybody raises their hand, not surprising. High schools, half of them raise their hands. My significant personal loss, I'd like to briefly tell you about. September 29th, 1998, it was a Tuesday. I woke up about 6:30, I looked to the right in my bed and my wife was not there. Connor, my 4-year-old, comes running over. Where's Mommy? I don't know. We get out of bed to go look for her. My 14-year-old, Kyle, same question. We didn't know where she is. So we look in a couple of rooms, we walk down the hallway, and we look down into the basement in front of the washer and dryer, and here's Dana face down, all crumpled up. So we go running down there, I turn her over, stuff's coming out her mouth, it doesn't look good. Connor starts crying immediately, what's wrong with Mommy? I start doing CPR, mouth to mouth. I said, Kyle, go call the authorities, go call fire, medics, police. I'd say within 15, maybe 10 minutes, maybe 6, I don't know, I don't remember. The house was full of people. They had her laid out in the rec room, and they had tubes and wires and those paddles, shocking her. Most surrealistic thing I'd ever seen. The only thing I'd ever seen like this was on TV. As I get to look at people, I'm doing these talks and make connections eye to eye, and the people that raise their hand, or anybody that has been through something like this, one of the things that I notice is that time loses all measure. I wasn't sure how much time had gone by. The small captain from the fire department comes over to me, a young lady. Mr. Brooke, we've been working on your wife for an hour and a half. We still don't have a heartbeat. Do you want us to continue? So even when you're in shock, shock's the body's way of trying to protect it from everything else that's going on. You don't know if this is a dream or a nightmare, or if you're even in reality. Somehow it still computes to some degree. I stopped for a second and I looked at her and I said, 90 minutes. No, you can stop. And she was dead. She was 38 years old. What she died of was a prescription pill overdose. Vicodin and Oxycontin and all those painkillers that are out there that seem to kill a lot of people. What made it so challenging for me, especially when I look at certain groups, military men and women, anybody who's been in harm's way, anybody who's dealt with tragedies or traumas in their life, for me it wasn't the only thing I had ever dealt with. Prior to that, my father elected to end his life one day with a shotgun. Very successful attorney up in Seattle. My mother had died of cancer when I was younger. 2 of my best buddies died in a car accident the night we graduated from Queen Anne High School up in Seattle. On and on and on and on. And I said to myself, I'm going to have to figure something out because this isn't working real well for me. And when I'm down here on Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month at Joint Base Lewis McChord, I will tell you, 2 or 3 days after Dana died, I walked up this old deck we had in the back. We lived right by Green Lake in Seattle. I can remember like 10 seconds ago pinching my skin and going, I'm just a little flesh and bone human being. This is not a dream. It's not a nightmare. This is reality. I don't think I can do this. And I stood there by myself and realized for the first time in my life, I understand why people kill themselves. Because I don't think I can do this. The Aurora Bridge is 1 mile away. All I have to do is walk over to the bridge, step over, and it's done. No pain, no suffering, no trying to explain to Connor where his mommy is. Kyle going, what happened to mom? How did she die? Friends, trying to help, not knowing what to say, etc., etc. But at the same time, after my dad's suicide, multiple friends' suicide besides them, and Dana's, I guess it was a suicide. It could have been an accidental overdose, hard to say. I realized a lot of it has to do with how you look at something. Every one of you people in this auditorium gets a choice to look at something left, right, up, down, right, wrong, positive, or negative. I'd like you to all stand up if you'd be so kind. And here's what I'd like you to do. It's after lunch, so you can, that's always good to get a little stretch. Stretch your right arm up and just start turning it in a clockwise manner. Now, I told the earlier group, in high schools, no idea what clockwise is. No idea. So I always hold up my little watch and go, it's this way. They're all digital. So just keep it stretched out, doing it clockwise. Now just start slowly bringing it down. Keep it going clockwise. Slowly, eyes, chin, chest, waist. Now what direction is it going? Who said that? Who said counterclockwise right here? Good job. What's your name? Smith. What is it? Specialist Smith. Specialist Smith. Can you come up front, please? You can all sit down. So as Specialist Smith is making his way up front, thank you for stepping up and saying that, sir. Of course, the killer handshake, what a surprise. There's always a couple people in the back going like this, like what the heck just happened? I saw just 1 or 2. So Specialist Smith goes, that's mine. Hope this guy doesn't embarrass me. You get a gratitude journal. Good job, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your service. I always like to reward people that speak up, because I walk around and ask them questions. Everybody starts looking at their shoes all of a sudden. And I just like to get some input occasionally. I have some fraternity brothers I've known for 45 years. One of them saw me about 6 months ago, and he goes, I saw your little presentation, and frankly, I wasn't that impressed. And well, thanks. And he goes, well, how did this work? What's up with that? And I go, well, if you're so frickin' smart, and if my presentation was so weak, how come you have to ask me that? All depends. Specialist Smith, why is it clockwise one way and counterclockwise the other? I don't know. It's because the way you look at it. Thank you for saying that. Counterclockwise, clockwise. You look at it from above, it's clockwise. Look from it down below, it's counterclockwise. It's my way of saying you have a choice in how you look at something. Now, I could go down every one of these rows and talk to each one of you individually and find out some of you are going to be positive, some of you are going to be negative. I can't do much about that. I'm a pretty positive guy, considering I've been through a lot of things in my life. I was never in the service, and boy, do I really regret that. I wanted to learn how to fly. I was going to the Navy or Air Force. Didn't work out that way. I learned how to fly on my own. But I will tell you this. These shoes have walked down a lot of paths that took me to places I never thought I would be, where I really even questioned why I wanted to be here. And we cannot walk in an identical path, but you can walk in a parallel path and have similar experiences. I've experienced a lot of death, a lot of trauma, a lot of tragedy, and I decided it was not going to define me. Am I defined by death, or am I defined by resiliency? I choose to be resilient and bounce back. But one of the things I learned, I call myself the gratitude guy. If you frame your life around being grateful, focusing on what you have versus what you don't have, it tends to work a little bit better. We live in a world where people focus a lot on what they don't have. 3x5 cards. Grab your 3x5 card if you would. And you are going to need a partner for this, so I need you to, your even groups, fine. If you're uneven, I need you to go sit with somebody because this is a two-person exercise, so you guys can hook up and so forth, but if you need to move over, thank you. What's your name, sir? What's your name? Your name? Shine. Shine? Will you come and see me afterwards? You're getting a gratitude journal. You're the first guy that would immediately moved over with you. Of course, she's good looking too, but people just sit there, so I appreciate that. But come and see me afterwards if you would. So, does everybody have a partner? And there's no three-person exercises here. This is two people. How about that group of five right there? Have you guys each got partners? Oh, man. Okay, I'm just going to shoot for 90%. That's close enough. If you guys don't want to have a partner, that's fine. Are you guys partnered up right here? Thank you. Okay. And does everybody have a 3x5 card? If not, Major Ventro's got some extra ones. Get your pens out if you'd be so kind. Upper left-hand corner. I would like you to write these three words. I see you as. And see is S-E-E. I see you as. Those four words. And for those of you that are speedy, upper right-hand corner, write your partner's name. If you don't know it, ask them. Jim, can you bring down another journal for Specialist Shine? S-H-I-N-E. Thank you for moving over right next to her. You don't know how that makes me feel. Lastly, lower right-hand corner, sign your name. Sign or print, what have you. So upper left-hand corner, I see you as. Upper right-hand corner, your partner's name. In the lower right-hand corner, sign your name. So here's what I'd like you to do. Whether you know that person or not, doesn't matter. I'm going to give you 60 seconds. Jim, it's this gentleman right here on row 4. Thank you, Special Shine. Thank you, Jim. Whether you know that person or not, it makes no difference. I'm going to give you 60 seconds. Here's what I want you to do. As fast as you can, I want you to write how you see that person. I see you as energetic. I see you as happy. I see you as driven. I see you. Whatever you think as an adjective to describe them. 60 seconds, go. And stop. And I understand some of you could write a lot more, and some go, I wrote 2 things, that's all I could think of. It's fine. Another 60 seconds. Take 30 seconds each. Read to each other what you wrote. Start. Okay, and stop. So now, exchange cards, so you have the card that was written about you. And even though you just heard that person read that about you, I would just like you to silently read in your mind what they just said to you in the written form on that 3x5 card. So as you look at that card and see how somebody else saw you, by show of hands, how many people here might hold on to that card? Thank you. It's been a great presentation today. You guys are so great. Why does nobody laugh at that? I think that's hilarious. 90% of you raise your hand. Thank you. So here's my question. One of the reasons why I don't do PowerPoint is I don't like to do anything but look at people I'm talking to. I've been with a ton of people. I've learned a lot about speaking. And now for this, now for that, now for that. And sometimes I've gone, excuse me, pardon me. Can you just send me that PDF? Because you're just reading every line here. And I would just like to study that on my own time. One of the reasons why I like to look at people that I'm talking to, like Specialist Shine, there he is, got a journal, or anybody else, is because I always like to think and see if I can read what somebody's thinking. And one of the things I haven't understood my entire life, I'm 65 years old, I'll be 66 in January. It's taken me a long time to figure this out. Why do we say stuff to ourselves that we'd never say to a friend? You couldn't give me any amount of money to walk up to Specialist Shine, who goes, dang, now he's going to pick on me the entire time, and call him an LOSER or any other kind of word like that. But boy, I'd have no trouble telling me that on a regular basis. I don't understand. It comes back to that relationship you have with yourself. And when we talk about suicide, we talk about doing drugs, we talk about doing things with strange things in our life, a lot of it starts with a relationship you have with that person in the mirror, in my humble opinion. And if you like that person, look how a total stranger saw you. In the earlier presentation, there was a gentleman, Mike, in the very far corner. I thought I was going to be his partner because it turns out we ended up having a partner for him. But I told him a talk I did earlier in the week, stranger, sometimes when there's an odd number of people, I'll do it with the gal, or with the person. This was a gal. She nailed me, I nailed her, we'd never met. She's Mr. Fast Talker, Mr. Energetic, all this kind of stuff. And boy, she nailed me pretty good, and I hit her right, and we'd never met. That's how quickly, rather, somebody can see who you are. So hold on to that card. We're going to do something a little bit later. But that is a 2-minute exercise designed to show you what embracing gratitude can do for you. A lot of different approaches to things in life. I believe that it's really hard to be happy without being grateful. John Lennon was 8 years old. It's in 3rd grade. They're going around the room. Teacher goes to John Lennon, what do you want to be when you grow up? Did you say that?
Oh, sorry, sir, I know the story. I know what you're saying.
Like, come on, isn't it a great story?
Oh, yeah. I think there's something you can learn from that.
Of course, nobody else knows what you and I are talking about, but we'll fill them in. I'd never heard this till a couple years ago. He said, I want to be happy. He said, what do you want to be when you grow up? He says, I want to be happy. Teacher looks at John Lennon and says, you don't understand the assignment. John Lennon thinks about it for a second, looks back at the teacher and says, you don't understand life. Got him, is right. But I think it is a choice, back to the circle, back to how somebody sees you versus how you see you, abundance versus scarcity. It's just a choice you get to make, up, down, left, right, happy, sad. I got to manage those stores at Nordstrom and Lowe's and do different things, and I decided a few years ago I've been wanting to be a speaker all my life. I guess I better do it at some point. But I found a couple of key things. If I asked somebody to do something, the minute they started a sentence with, you don't understand, I just stopped them because I knew an excuse was coming. Well, Mr. Brook, you don't understand. The reason I can't move the plywood is because blah, 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 whatever it is. So it's a choice. It's a choice you make. So the first thing I like to talk about is embracing gratitude. By the way, after Dana died, I lost my house, my business. My sons and I had to go move in with a friend and sleep on a piece of foam. I was 50 years old, had no place to live. Everything was gone, all the money and everything. So I only say that not to impress you or anything about it other than to say you can bounce back from anything. But I believe gratitude is one of the key tools that you can add in the toolbox to help you. A gratitude journal, which I sell, and which I've already given away a couple today. 5 minutes a day to frame your life about what you have versus what you don't have. There's all sorts of studies that talk about how leading a grateful life and having a grateful attitude, an attitude of gratitude, can reframe your approach to life, your mindset. If somebody chooses not to, I'm fine with that. I'm just saying it's out there if somebody needs it. Second thing I talk about is it takes as long as it takes. As I mentioned, I'm 65 years old. There's all these guys. Colonel Sanders started Kentucky Fried Chicken at 63. Mary Kay Ash, Mary Kay Cosmetics, 58. Ray Kroc, 57. McDonald's, J.C. Penney's, 56. Doesn't matter. I could go around, again, everyone, some of you guys and gals are awfully young, of course. Doesn't matter. It's your journey. You get to run your own race. So whether you're younger, older, it doesn't matter. But it does take as long as it takes, and you have to stick with it. And one of the ways to stick with it is to continue to frame your life, on a daily basis with everything you're grateful for. Connor, my 4-year-old, struggled mightily when Dana died. I took him into the school, and they said, he's really messed up. I said, well, his mom just died 6 months ago. I'm having a tough enough time even sticking around myself. Yeah, well, he's going to need a lot of help, a lot of therapy, all this kind of thing. Kyle was having a tough time at 14, but we just stuck with it. Just did it over and over. I just stuck with it. It was tough. Did terrible in school, had a tough time in kindergarten, held him back in first grade, tough decision. But he wouldn't give up. And I said, I'm not going to give up, Connor. And when I decided that I'm not going to go jump off that bridge, now I'm going to raise these 2 boys, I said to them, I'm going to ask you guys to take the same approach I do, which is not giving up. But I do believe you need tools, as I mentioned. I'll mention continually. But Connor wanted to play baseball. Couldn't run. Couldn't hit. Couldn't catch. Certainly couldn't throw. Other than that, pretty decent skills. We get to T-ball. T-ball, the ball does not even move. Just sits on a little tee. And I'm the dad. I'm sitting over there. I got no wife and nobody else. I'm just going to do it. And he's just hitting up here, looking at me, swinging. Like, what are you doing hitting up here? The ball's down here. So he just keeps lowering. He's just trying his little heart out. He just keeps trying and trying. And he finally getting near where the ball is. And then he goes way down here. He hits the tee. The ball dribbles forward. He goes, Dad, I got to hit. Just dribble off the tee. But he wouldn't give up. Kept going out every year, never played. He actually started to be able to throw and catch a little bit, but he just couldn't play. Finally, we get to May 30th, 2004. He's about 11 years old. He's playing on this team, and there's a guy in second and third. It's the bottom of the 7th. 2 outs. And there's nobody else up that can bat. So the coach looks down to the dugout, and he goes, who's left? And they said, Connor Brook. Connor comes out, I'm up, and he's swinging his bat like he's had all sorts of hits, like Babe Ruth, just swinging it around like he knows what he's doing. Gets up to the plate, looks in the stands, goes, Dad, I'm up! For those of you that have been around kids playing baseball, they do not acknowledge their parents in the stands. They want you there, but they don't acknowledge you. Ball run, strike 1, ball 2, strike 2, full count. Next pitch comes in, he just rips it down the third baseline, goes into left field. The guy from third comes in to score. The guy from second rounds third comes in. The ball, the guy, the catcher at home plate, he catches it. They all crash together, and the ball pops out. And they win the game 8-7. I look out, he's out on second base. Dad, I got a hit! He is standing out there by himself. The entire dugout goes out, puts them on their shoulders, and carries them off the field. It took me a long time to be able to even relate to that story without choking up. Because when we got home that night, I said to him, Connor, it was never about baseball. It was the fact that you never gave up. Connor had a hard time in school. He had a hard time with baseball. He had a hard time with sports. He's now 21. I know this is a big group, but here's a picture of Connor. 21 years old. This was when he was 18. 6'2". 3.5 grade average at Bothell High School. They told him he would never be a smart person, and maybe more importantly, leadoff hitter on the baseball team. You just can't give up. One of the things that I noticed is that because I've been around enough suicide, you may have heard, is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. It always gets better. That's pretty much most of the stories I'll probably tell. Most of the rest of the day, I've got a little bit of the rest of the hour or whatever, exercises and things. But I only like to really tell stories so that you know who you're listening to and what I've been through. I'm not just teaching out of some book how to be successful in life, how not to be depressed, how not to commit suicide, how not to whatever it might be. I'm just teaching out of this book. I have walked down this path for these 65.6 years, and I've seen a lot of people that got the tools, and I'm just suggesting one tool in many, gratitude, and specifically a gratitude journal for 5 minutes a day. But it does take a mindset which says, I just can't give up. And I think the embracing gratitude, it takes as long as it takes. Maybe the third thing is, well, actually, let me explain to you about not giving up too. So at 19 years old, sure, some of you folks around 19 are close to it, I wanted to be a speaker. Well, that was 45 years ago. Never did it. Worked for Nordstrom, worked for Lowe's, did all these other things. People died, all this stuff happened. Never became a speaker. I didn't know about gratitude. I just wanted to be a speaker. I was going to be a motivational speaker. 2.5 years ago, I thought, you know what? You got to stop talking about this. You need to put your money where your mouth is. And that's where you look in the mirror, because that relationship, as I've said and will continue to say, is the most important relationship you'll ever have. Just the two of you. And people can go woo-woo all they want. When you're brushing your teeth, combing your hair, putting makeup on, whatever, that's the person you need to know better than anybody else. I looked in the mirror one day and thought, what are you doing? What are you doing? I thought you were going to be a speaker. All these other people that died. So I come home on December 27th, 2012, about 2 in the afternoon. Connor's sitting on the couch right about where this young man is. So what are you doing home? I quit. What do you mean you quit? I said, I quit Lowe's. You quit Lowe's? You quit being the store manager? I said, yeah. He goes, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to be a speaker. Connor looks up at me and he goes, well, that's just super, Dad. I have a question. What are we going to do for food? How many people believe in themselves? God, I hope every hand goes up here. Pretty good, thank you. I tell you, you got to believe in yourself. And you know what? I've done this enough now, as you heard when Major Vento said what I've done for, I don't know, 250, 260 talks. There's so many tools available for us out there. Believing in yourself, having a great relationship with yourself, all those things are tools that you have. You folks get a lot of tools in the service. You got them when you're going to school. It's just a question of whether you want to use them or not. That's why I mentioned the comment about the person saying to me, you don't understand. You can say that all day long if you want. It's fine. But I'll tell you, there's a lot of great tools out there. And I think, in fact, it's interesting. So when you look at yourself, if I say to this young man, put your hand up. Put it like right here. There you go. I tell him, Mr. Tovar, put your hand up. Now, did I say anything about holding it? But what is he doing? Right? Did I say hold it? No. Thank you, sir. But that's what we do. We tend to resist. We tend to sometimes not change things in our lives for really no reason other than just, well, isn't that what you do? And you just hold yourself up. Everybody quickly point to yourself as fast as you can. Point to yourself. Okay, not bad. I'd say about 90%. So you're going 90% of what? Okay, thank you. So you can't see this. Most people do this, which is great. That's your heart. You know what some other people do? This. I'm not quite sure what that means. What's it mean? Who said that? Man, you guys are all dressed the same. I can't tell who said what. Who said that? What'd you say?
I said nose goes.
Nose goes. That's good. I'm going to have this guy come up on stage. I've seen people do this. I've had to point all different places. It's kind of strange. The only reason I bring that up sometimes is because I think when you're pointing here, you're pointing to your heart. I think most of your decisions in your life are driven by your brain or by your heart, how you feel. This computer up here, the CPU, is where all our thoughts start. Everything in our life starts as a thought and then becomes an action and emotion and so forth. Third thing I like to talk about is getting junk out of your brain. We have a lot of stuff that's in our brain. I go by these complexes of new homes and there's all these garages that are just full of stuff. I just don't understand it. The garages, 3 of them are just boxes bottom to roof, floor to roof. It's just stuff. And people are always talking about, well, I don't understand why I'm having a tough time in life. Well, tell me about what's going on. Well, I have this ex-husband caused me a lot of trouble, ex-wife, whatever it might be. Well, when did you get divorced? 1998. Wow. So like 17 years ago? And that's still working for you? I used to have a bad habit of driving over junk in my life, picking it up behind me, putting it in front of me, and driving over it again. I tell people, if you made a mistake or something didn't work in your life, move on from it. Coming back to focusing on what you have versus what you don't have is a good way of doing that. That's what, again, what gratitude does. One of the reasons why we focus a lot on what we don't have is what you see in everything we're inundated with all day long. Advertising, everything. Bigger boat, bigger house, bigger car, bigger trip, whatever it might be. Better than you, better than me. If you follow down that pathway, it's fine, but you'll never be able to catch your tail. It'll just be something, it'll be a circle that you'll go in forever and ever. How many people here have heard of a gratitude journal? Okay, I can count on one hand. 1, 2, 3. It's okay. I had not heard of a gratitude journal. Depends on the audience I speak to, all these different types, as I said. Sometimes it's half, sometimes it's more, sometimes it's a few. This buddy of mine says to me a few years after Dana died, you need a gratitude journal. You know what that is? And I said, no. He goes, well, it's a little journal you write in every single day about what you're grateful for. So I ordered one. I got it, I put it on the shelf, and didn't read it for a while. Then when I started to read it, or write in it rather, I noticed really, really good things happening because it was getting me to focus on what I was grateful for. When I put together this gratitude journal, I bought one on Amazon, then I got my own. I just handed out a couple, the Brooker's Daily Gratitude Journal. It's very simple. It's a little book you're writing every day. It takes 5 minutes. Your daily number, which we'll get to in a second, the day and date, what you're grateful for, what the highlight of your day is, and what you're going to be grateful for. It takes 5 minutes. Completely changed my life. People say I don't have the time for it. That's fine. If you want to change your life, change your life. I'm just saying it's another tool. So that little 3x5 card you have, I'd like you to take that back out, turn it over. This is a no partner exercise. This is just for you, yourself, and I, just the three of you. Here's what I'd like you to do. And there's no conversing on this, no comparing anybody else's. This is for that person you see in the mirror. We're going to do just a brief exercise here. 1 to 10. 10 is the best day of your life. 1 is the worst day of your life. I want you to think about that number right this moment. It can be physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, relationships, whatever it is. Take all that stuff and average it. What is that number this very moment, whatever time it is, 2 o'clock or something like that. And figure out what that number is, the very thing that describes your state of mind right now. It could be halves also. It could be 5.5, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, whatever it might be. Whatever that number is, put it in the upper left-hand corner and put a circle around it. And then I want you to write numbers 1, 2, 3 in the center of that card. You're going to write 3 things in just a second. Just put a number 1, 2, 3 right in a row. Number 1, if you could only pick one thing you were grateful for, what would that be? Write it down. The thing you're the most grateful for in your entire life, put that down for number 1. Once you got that done, the second thing you're most grateful for. Do you guys have pens?
No, sir. We kind of missed the pen train.
I can't have you guys not participate. Do you have a card? There we go. So you got that, number 1 and number 2? Grateful. Did you guys get your number there? And third and lastly, this might take you a few seconds to think about it. What was the highlight of your day yesterday? The best thing that happened to you yesterday. Just write that down, a couple of words, a sentence, whatever it might be. No, I think they might have got them. Okay, and hopefully you've got all three of those things written down. Now here's what I'd like you to do. And this again is just sort of a solo exercise for you. I just want you to reread again what you wrote down for number 1, number 2, and the highlight of your day. And just notice as you're reading those three things and see if your mindset changes at all. And then I'd like you to put whatever that number might be in the upper right-hand corner and put a circle around that. Okay, so you got a number in the upper left-hand corner, a number in the upper right-hand corner. By show of hands, how many people's numbers stayed the same from left to right-hand corner? Third or so. Okay, thank you. How many people's number went up? Now, if I say thanks a lot, I'm done, how come that's not funny? I don't understand that. All you guys did that. That was great. That took 2 minutes. That'll show you what gratitude will do. When you get to friend, now the people whose numbers stay the same, doesn't mean anything's bad. But when you focus on what you're grateful for, the first and second thing and the highlight of your day, and your number bumps up from a 7 to an 8 or an 8 to 8.5 or whatever it might be, that's how framing your life with gratitude can make a difference. When I was 16 years old, my mother had been manic depressive and bipolar all her life. And I tell people sometimes the most significant thing that happened to me in my life was watching my wife die, trying to revive her, seeing my dad with his head, blah, 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 with a shotgun, and all this other stuff. But frankly, that isn't the worst thing that ever happened to me. My mom was a diagnosed bipolar, manic depressive individual. She'd do all this crazy stuff. She'd burn everything in the house because she was manic, and then she'd get depressed and threaten to kill herself, etc., etc. She would call me when I was working my job in high school, and she would take a bottle of pills, and she'd put it next to the phone, and she'd shake it. You either come over and see me right now, or I'll eat these entire bottle of pills. I'll be dead within an hour. And they were sleeping pills. So I have an older brother, Robbie, Jimmy, Donnie, Gina. I thought, what if I don't go over? If she dies, I guess it's on me. So I'd go over and see her. Frankly, even though she's been dead many, many years from cancer, I thought that was the most manipulative, incredibly terrible thing you could do to a person. If I don't go over there, she will kill herself. Well, I got that from her. And that's the thing I couldn't tell people for quite a while. Too much shame, too much stigma, too much you, Mr. Gratitude guy, Mr. Positive Energy, Mr. Speaker, all this kind of stuff. You, depressed, suicidal, manic, worse yet, depressive, yeah. Well, as I mentioned, Dana died of a prescription pill overdose. Those are painkillers. I understand there's antidepressants. I'm not a doctor. But just sort of by the fact that I lost her that way, I just couldn't take medication. So I just dealt with it myself. And it's a bitch. I'm speaking one day in Burlington Chamber of Commerce. I wake up, I'm a 2. So those of you that just got an idea of this number, I hope there weren't any 1s, 2s, or 3s here. I used to have people raise their hands. Let's start with a 6, and I don't want to embarrass anybody. That was a 2, probably a 1. I went, wow. Remember, you made a pact. You weren't going to kill yourself. Remember, pal? You're going to raise Connor and Kyle. So I think, well, I guess you better practice what you preach. And I grabbed my gratitude journal and I went to Starbucks and I wrote in it for about 5 to 6 minutes. And I don't like to, those cards you have, it's nobody's business. You can write whatever you want. I wrote about how grateful I was to be healthy, how grateful I was to have my boys, a job, a roof over my head, even a shower, a bed. Gets real basic when you're really depressed. Got me up to about a 4, maybe a 5. So went up to Burlington Chamber. Did a talk. There's about 150 people there. They're all, I've got books I sell. If you'd like to come out, I'd love to see you and meet you on your way out. I sell the journals and so forth. They're standing in line, and this gal comes up to me. She's crying. She looks at me and she goes, "Can I give you a hug?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "You just changed my life." I said, "How'd I do that?" Well, a couple of stories you told. One of my sons is manic depressive. Another one killed himself. My husband, alcoholic. Terrible story. She goes, "But I think I'm going to do something about this. I'd like to get a journal," and so on and so forth. We talked for a few minutes. But here's the reason I tell you this story. Not about her. I went out to my car. I got in my car. I sat there by myself. Do you ever want to wonder who your best friend is in your life? Who's the first person you call when something really good or really bad happens to you? It's one way to tell. I decided to call my younger son, and then I thought, nope, I'm just going to sit here by myself. And I had kind of a smile on my face. And the reason I started to smile is because I had gone from a 2 that day when I woke up, this incredible depression, this cascade of 10,000 tons of rocks that comes down and crushes me, and so I can't even move, to a 4 to a 5 when I wrote in my journal, and now I was a 9. And what was interesting about it, all I had done at that point was help somebody, make a difference in their life. But what I thought was interesting is that I decided I didn't have a beer. I didn't have those pills. This stuff's for everything now. You name it. Just take one of these, you'll be fine. And I'd gone from a 2 to a 4 to a 5 to a 9. And I thought there's ways out there to survive in this crazy world that we have called life without using pills, without drinking, without all those different things. So I had a good friend of mine. He's sitting up in the right-hand corner. He was the one that answered this question for me. I said, "Why are drugs such a problem?" So why am I talking about drugs? Well, I think when you have a bad relationship with yourself, that's one of the roads that leads down to suicide or taking your life or doing crazy things or whatever because you're not happy with what's going on. I asked doctor after doctor after doctor, why do people take drugs? I never got a good answer until this guy one day says to me, actually Jim told me, the doctor said, "I just don't think people want to feel bad." I kind of like that answer. I don't know. Why would anybody want to feel bad if you don't have to? You get a pain, you get something cuts your hand, it hurts, and they give you a medicine or ibuprofen, it doesn't hurt. That's not a bad plan. But I came up with something that I thought was kind of interesting. Just my opinion. I think that's what people are looking for. The easy button. Because what happens is, hey, I got an idea. Why don't we take some prescription medication?
That was easy.
Pop a pill. Hey, let's go to the tavern. Let's have a couple of beers. Let's get drunk, whatever. That'll make us feel better.
That was easy.
I'm not blaming anybody. Prescription medication killed my wife. Booze killed a ton of my friends, fried people's brains, livers, all these different things. Why? Because I think people just didn't want to feel bad. I think they were looking for a way to just maybe take the edge off of life. The problem is, in many cases, it's destructive and deadly and can kill you, as it did in the case of Dana. Depending on the group I'm talking to, I don't know, bring some of these things up. 50 pills were in her stomach in the autopsy. I don't understand it. And then when I come up with something that I get to help people and give them here's a little thing. You write in a journal every day, focus on everything you have. It's called a gratitude journal. It only takes 5 minutes.
That was easy.
Doesn't take long to me. A group your size, your age range. You know what people ask me all the time? Right, come over here. Do you have an app? Is there an app? Is there an app on the phone? Or do I have to do the journal? Actually, I do have an app, but it's not the same. I can press this little button on the Brooker's Daily Gratitude Journal. I'm so grateful to Major Vento for inviting me, for Captain Williams, and it'll type it, and you just hit the button and it prints it. It's fine. Thing is, though, is that they've done studies. The keyboards today does not connect to your brain the same way your written hand does. Something starts as a thought, Specialist Shine, right? I'm so grateful to Specialist Shine for standing up and saying counterclockwise, what a great guy. It plants it in your brain better. You go back and refer to it and all those kinds of things. There's a little saying on the front of this journal, pretty small. It says way up in the left-hand corner, if you think about it, it's like a dream. If you talk about it, it inspires you. But if you write about it, it empowers you. It makes a difference. And for those of you that want to type and do all this kind of thing, that's fine. I'm just telling you, it makes a really, really big difference. So I talked about the relationship that you have with yourself. Here's something I contend. All of these things have to do with, I think, how we navigate life. Life is a bitch, if you ask me. It's tough. Rob, is that you, my brother, I see up there? That's my brother up in the left-hand corner. He'll remember this well. You can wave, Rob. Rob, you can wave. Only guy that's known me 2 years longer. He was 2 years old when I was born. Our mother, his mom too, would say, I'm going to tell you, Robbie and David, two things. Life's not easy, and life's not fair. And boy, was she right. So my attitude is, I'm Mr. Positive. I'm not up here being Mr. Negative. I'm just telling you, if you know something's negative, you can deal with it. If I go up to, what's your first name, sir?
Jacob.
What is it?
Jacob.
Jacob. If I go up to Jacob and I punch you in the stomach, if you tighten your muscles, it's not going to bother you, right?
Hopefully.
Yeah. No, you look like you're in shape. No, because you know what's coming. But if I come around the corner and hit him, I can maybe knock the wind or knock him out. If you know something's coming, at least you can prepare yourself for it. So she did a good job with Rob and me and Jimmy and Donnie and Gina of telling us it's not going to be easy, but you know what? There's ways you can kind of prepare yourself for it. Well, one of them is that relationship you have with yourself. And again, I've gotten to the point now I get to do this. I'm so fortunate to do this talk and talk to as many people as I can. If you get it, great. If you don't, I'm fine with that. But this thing, that relationship you have with yourself is so critical. Andrew Jackson on the $20 bill. If I walk down to Jacob, right? Or Specialist Shine or anybody else and give this to you, how many people would want this $20 bill? Thank you, 100%. If I do this, crunch it up into a little ball, how many people still want it? Phenomenal, much better than the earlier group. Just kidding. If I take it and stomp on it, smooth it out. You guys are all getting books. I love all you guys. Smooth it out. Now how many people still want it? Thank you. Go on. I can read minds. Do we really seriously have to raise our hands this many times? Last thing. I look at Andrew Jackson and I go, Andrew, you're worthless. You're a piece of crap. In fact, I'm not even sure why you're on this planet, my friend, because I think you're worth nothing. Andrew Jackson looks back at me and goes, well, listen, Mr. Gratitude Guy, you say whatever you want. I'm still worth 20 bucks. And he'd be right, wouldn't he? Because would you all still want it? Just that one. I should bring him a 20 just for doing that, for bringing it that fast. Of course you would. So then here's my question. If you're looking in that mirror, brushing your teeth, looking at that person, you'll let somebody else crush you, step on you, tell you you're worthless or a piece of crap, and devalue you to 15 bucks, 10 bucks, 5 bucks, or worse yet, 0. But that doesn't seem to bother him, does it? So sometimes I think to myself, and I like to always practice what I preach. I've had people devalue me and tell me I was worth 10 bucks. And probably the worst thing about it is it got to me and I started to believe it, which sucks. So to me, you keep increasing that relationship with the person you see in the mirror, you do extremely well. People say, well, isn't that a little bit selfish? And I go, no. No, if you want to build a good foundation, you have to have a good cement slab in order to support a bunch of stories. You got to start with a good foundation. You got to start with a good basis. You know, the old thing, put the air mask on yourself first before you put it on everybody else or your kids or whoever. Get yourself stabilized. I was thinking about the relationship I have with myself and how much I'm so happier now than having to work for the Nordstrom family, excuse me, and some of these other people that were not the best people to work for. And I get to go out and I get to help people and I get to transform lives and change lives. And as I said to Major Vento and a couple of the other folks today, if even one person looks at something differently today, this morning or now, it's worth it for me. And if it's a couple, that's even better. But the point is, it comes back to that relationship you have with yourself. I was down in Reno about a year ago, and this is where I realized how important the relationship was with myself. My buddy is doing the slot machines. We usually do blackjack and craps and things like that. And he's doing the slot machine, and I hear him screaming. And there's like, you put a quarter in, there's like $1,000 for the quarters coming down. Just, and now they changed the tickets. But all these cascading of quarters are coming down. And he starts high-fiving me. Brooker, come here, look at this. And he's hitting me and doing all this kind of stuff. And it was really, really exciting. And I was thinking, God, I'm so excited. And you know, you're going to buy dinner. And he goes, yeah, I'm going to buy dinner. And this is when it hit me. I was so excited for him. But I would have been just a teeny bit more excited if it was me winning. I wasn't trying to be selfish. I just thought, you know, that shows why that relationship is important. I contend, if you find yourself, and then you really find out what your passion is, you probably lead to your purpose. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. I want you to go back to your partner, take a minute each, and talk about what's the number one thing you're most passionate about in your life. Number one thing at this very moment. Go. 60 seconds each. Oh, these groups are just like fucking. That's hilarious. So. Okay, and stop. Anybody want to share what they're most passionate about? Hold on. Hold on. You guys, does anybody here remember Phil Donahue? Oh my God, like 2 people. Hold on, I have the caller. Hold on. Who said my son? Expand.
He's the highlight of my life, sir.
What? God, you guys are so great, sir. Yes, ma'am. What's his name?
Aiden Jesse.
A-I-D-A-N?
Yes, sir.
Aiden. A-I-D-A-N. Aiden. That's really cool. Thank you. Great. Passionate. Jacob?
I couldn't really come up with anything.
Skateboard or anything? Or?
What am I most passionate about? I couldn't remember.
Okay. Can I come back to you? How about over here? Anybody most passionate about?
My car.
What kind is it?
Camaro.
What year?
87.
What color?
Red.
Okay, from now on, 87 red Camaro, I'm really passionate about. No, just kidding. Good job. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Guitar.
And,
Guitar.
okay, playing it, making them, I mean,
Playing
just
it.
making particular kind of songs or anything? Or?
Metal music.
Okay, good. Okay, what are you most grateful for?
My family.
And who is the family?
Well, my son in particular.
And what's his name?
Benjamin.
Benjamin. Cool. Thank you. Grateful for, sir?
I have to say family.
Family. Cool. See, here's what this is my favorite part. Watch people as I'm walking by. This is what they do. Please don't call on me. What's grateful for?
My health.
Thank you. Is health not usually number one? No? Rob, help me out here. Okay. Grateful or passionate?
Both.
And what for?
My baby.
Oh, cool. Do we know boy or girl yet?
Girl.
What's her name?
Tiani Marie.
Tiana Marie?
Tiani.
Tiani Marie? Such a cool one. See, when you have a, yeah, we got the applause section right here. See, Tiani Marie, when you have a name like Dave, it's very boring. So, good name. Most passionate about?
Family.
Family. You guys have good answers here. Hey, nobody's on their cell phones. We're going to talk about the smartphones in a second. What are you most grateful for?
My wife.
What's her name?
Melvina.
Melvina? Cool name. Okay, I'm done. How many people have been on their smartphone since I've been talking? That's actually not a bad percentage. That's the number of honest people in the room. Here's the thing about being passionate. I feel, it's just my opinion, most people are looking for their purpose in life. I finally found my purpose 3 years ago when I left and started doing this. If you get a change of life in your life, during your life, it makes a big difference to me. Working for those companies, Lowe's and Nordstrom and everything was fine, but it didn't what I wanted to do. I knew at some point. So I think my contention is the formula is you got to get a good connection with yourself, the person in the mirror I keep talking about, get passionate about something, and I think that'll lead you to your purpose. I had a friend of mine, I like these little 3x5 cards and stuff, and we're having lunch one day about 6 months ago, and he takes out a card, and he writes David Brooke. Of course, David, not Melvina, see, like not cool names. $1 million, Michael Hartzell. Check for $1 million. He just hands it to me. He goes, I can make this good if I want. Would you take it? I said, sure. He goes, oh, wait a sec, I just forgot one thing. Before you take it, effective immediately, you have to stop being the gratitude guy. Would you do it? I said, no. And I meant it. Because you know what? We can make a lot of money in this world. We can make $1 million or 10 or billions. I heard the other day there's 527 billionaires in the United States now. But how often do you get to change a life? Service, men and women. Thank you for the service to our country. Service above self. If you want to help yourself, help somebody else. That's what I finally figured out. As I mentioned, one of the biggest reasons I talk about tragedies and things is just to say I've been down that road and I'm not, again, teaching from a book. And I was able to survive. And one of the best ways I've survived is learning about helping other people. If you help other people, you'll ultimately end up helping yourself. So I think that embracing gratitude is powerful. Have a mindset of it takes as long as it takes. Don't ever give up. Clean out your brain. Get rid of the junk. Get a gratitude journal. You can buy mine or you can get a spiral notebook. Makes a huge, huge difference. Keeps you completely focused all the time, as I said earlier, on what you have versus what you don't have. Find yourself, find your passion, and find your purpose. If you don't have a purpose, that's fine. Can we talk about your passion later, Jacob? I got some ideas for you. And lastly, share gratitude. So I asked how many people were on their smartphones. I had like 7 or 8 people, maybe 10. Everybody take out your smartphones. One of the things I feel so strongly about Sharing gratitude is the same thing I just said about if you want to help yourself, help other people. So if you find something you're really passionate about, you watch what happens when you share it. It tends to enhance the experience. So I call this the 4 T's. If you got a smartphone, great. If you don't, you want to put it on a piece of paper. Text, tweet, telephone, or tell. Those are the 4 T's. I'll give you 60 seconds to text, tweet, telephone, or tell somebody in your life how grateful you are for them. Go. Okay, and stop. Most people, as you can see, text. When I get to do high schools, I give them 60 seconds, and they'll come up and show me they've done about 7 or 8 texts already. The average person can do 1 or 2 in 60 seconds. But I really like this exercise because occasionally I'll find somebody that uses this as a telephone, which is what it was originally designed for. And it wasn't too long ago, I think a year or so ago, I was at Bothell High School and I heard just past Jacob about 5 or 6 feet. There's a young lady sitting there, actually maybe a 40-year-old lady. And she was on the telephone during this part. And I could hear her talking and she's going, yes, honey, I'm so grateful for you. I just appreciate you so much. And I'm assuming her husband. And it's everything you've done for me. And I just wanted you to know how much I don't know, some speaker just told me to call you and tell you. I went, no. And so then people will see me afterwards and they'll come up and they'll show me the phone, like their texts. And then they'll come up and they'll go like, here's one. I'm grateful for you too. What do you want? It's such a great reminder. Do we send flowers enough? Do we send cards enough? Do we say we're grateful to somebody? We say thank you enough and so on. Another one came up and showed me the same thing about an hour later and it says, are you sure you sent this to the right person? And then there was one that, it's not really funny, but it was about a week or 2 ago. I forgot about this one, and they said, I'm grateful for you too, I still want a divorce. That was kind of sad. So one of the things that I talked about earlier was that when you did those daily numbers, and wherever you were before the 3 grateful things and before and after and however, one of the questions I like to ask people I'm fortunate enough to coach is if you're a 6 or a 7 and say 10 is not obtainable, 9.5 or something, what has to happen to go from a 6 or a 7 to a 9.5? I don't have an answer, I just have the question. So self-confidence and self-esteem, and a lot of that has to do with back to that mindset. My contention is gratitude and a gratitude mindset, an attitude of gratitude keeps you towards those high numbers. I gave away a book, tried it when I'm in smaller groups and I do business cards, and they come up to the front to the stage, excuse me, and the gal gets the book, she comes up to them, they're all cheering, and she goes, I always win. I said, really? Her name was Julie, I remember it very well. She goes, I always win. My girlfriends hate me. And I just loved her attitude. Now, I don't think she can always win, but look at that attitude. If somebody says to you, I want to go to the casino, let's go, and they go, I never win, well, chances are they're going to be right. So how you see that mindset makes such a big difference. But it also has a lot to do with how you listen. One of the things I'm really passionate about listening, remembering names and knowing people. I don't think we listen long enough. And I will tell you, having been down the dark road of depression and bipolar and some of that stuff that, again, that I don't talk about all that often, you know what I was looking for half the time was somebody just would listen. and not start talking about themselves. God, it just blows my mind. So I've learned to become a pretty good listener. And I've said this so many times, it just makes me, kills me is what I started to say. You're talking to a friend, another person walks up and says to the friend, "How you doing, Joe?" Joe says to the friend, "I just got back from Hawaii." 9 times out of 10, you know what the other guy goes? "Oh, that's so interesting. The last time I was in Hawaii, we were going surfing and we went snorkeling, we went to the big thing, we did this, we did that." And I've had to stop people and go, "Can you hang on just a second? Hey, we're not talking about you. You asked about him." Just blows my mind. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Would you gentlemen all come up to the front of the stage? Up on stage, if you will. So my contention is, I'm going to see how you guys connect to and stand about 8 inches apart, please, 10 inches apart, from shoulder to shoulder. I'm always curious to see how people listen. Because I will tell you, if you heard nothing else I said today around listening, 3 words are the most powerful words you can think about when you're listening, and that is, tell me more. Don't start talking about yourself, tell me more. And when I've been around people that have had a tough time in life, whether it's depressed or suicide or anything, you know what? If you just say, tell me more, it's amazing how often it happens. Here's the only thing I'm going to tell you that's on this card for Mr. Douglas with 2 S's. Is we're selling something. Something's for sale. So I'm going to have you read it and see what it is. And then you guys can split just a little further apart. Just about 8, 10 inches. Thank you. And I don't want to put pressure on you guys, but the earlier group did pretty well on this. You don't have to go that far apart, just about a foot apart. You got most of it? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Douglas. You can tell Mr. Rona. Okay, you just pass it on down to him, go right down the list. You tell him what we're selling. Whisper it to him. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Hold on, don't go anywhere. Mr. Kitchens, will you tell us what you believe is being sold?
A 1974 truck.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Stay right there. Golf applause. Mr. Douglas, will you read what you read originally for sale? Now, hold on, what was that, Mr. Kitchens, again? It was a, what? 1974 truck. All we know is something was for sale. So, hold on, Mr. Douglas, go ahead.
1990 Ford truck, or Ford Thunderbird, navy blue with tan interior, automatic transmission, turbocharged engine, 73,000 miles, tinted windows, MP3 player for $4,500.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, thanks, you guys. Thank you. Give them applause. The earlier group went from a 90 Ford Thunderbird to a Ford, a blue Ford with 70,000 miles, so they got part of it. And that went from a 90 Ford Thunderbird to a truck. I just use that as another reminder of paying attention and listening. It's amazing. Two guys get on an airplane in New York and they fly to LA. One guy talks the whole way. The other guy just listens the entire flight, 6 hours or whatever it was. They land, and the two wives pick them up, and the wife of the guy that talked the whole way says, how was your flight? She says to her husband. He goes, oh gosh, I met the nicest guy. And all he did was talk the entire way. That's what happens when you listen. So, last couple of things I'll tell you is that please hang on to those 3x5 cards, those business cards that you have. They've got a little QR code on them if you're interested. You can snap that QR code. It takes you to my website. I send out a Monday video every Monday morning. It's about 90 seconds long. It's just a little message on gratitude. Last Monday's was All You Have Is Today. And it talks about really today's the most important day of your life, and everything else evolves around gratitude. I do have gratitude journals in the back, but you can also get them on the website as well. But when you do find yourself, and you understand the part about sharing, I think it's important to share. You guys share yourselves with our country. Incredible sacrifice, incredible service. And I will say that when you get to share something, it makes it so much more fulfilling. Just like those texts. If you have any of those texts you want to show me, I'd love to see them as well. Last time I got a number of texts from actually people in the audience, which was really cool. I didn't check this time. So I was fortunate enough. I didn't do drugs. I didn't smoke dope. I didn't do that stuff. I just didn't want to, but I was a crazy person when it came to daredevil stuff. I learned how to fly. Should have learned in the service. Learned how to fly on my own. Skydived and bungee jumped and scuba dived and all those different things. When I was younger, these same fraternity brothers that apparently think my presentation is weak all signed up to go skydiving one time. So I'm to take charge, guys. So I make the reservation for 10 people. Issaquah skydiving. It's quite a long time ago over in eastern Seattle. So I noticed there's 10 of us who are going to go. I make it for the following Saturday. On the next Sunday or the following Sunday, a couple of them cancel, and then on Monday and Tuesday I got a couple of phone calls, and you've all had calls like this. I don't feel too good. So you're not going skydiving? No. So a couple more canceled on Wednesday and Thursday. Finally it came Saturday about 10 o'clock. I walk up proudly up to Issaquah skydiving. The guy goes, can I help you? I said, yeah, Brooke, party of 10. He looks over my shoulder, doesn't see anybody. He goes, where are all your friends? And I said, I don't have any. Nobody showed up. So even though I don't do PowerPoint, when I get to do churches sometimes, they want little pictures, and I'll flip a shot up on the screen, shows me jumping out of an airplane, all freaking scared, and I'm all like, my teeth are gritting like I'm going to die. It's just a static line at that point. But I was all by myself, so I land, and I'm all proud of myself, and the guy goes, hey, thanks. And I just walked to my car. Oh, I'm so proud of you, Dave. That's great. Nobody to share it with. So I will tell you, it is your choice. You can look at this as up or down. You can embrace gratitude. You can have a positive attitude or a negative attitude. You can go left, you can go right. As I said, my brother's in the audience. He remembers my dad very well. Good morning, Dad. What's good about it? Always said what was wrong with things. And eventually took his own life. It's a choice. Gratitude is yet another tool, another part of that toolbox that you can choose from to help you navigate this crazy thing that we call life. It's a crazy thing. It's gone by so fast for me. But I'm going to be here a lot longer, God willing, because I want to keep taking a message to people which calls and involves the word hope. Because I think one of the worst things that ever happens is when we lose hope. When you lose hope, there isn't a lot to go for. But if you can manage to continue to frame your life around dealing with what you have versus what you don't have, continue to maintain a lot of hope, write in the gratitude journal every day. I do these little 3x5 cards. I do another card sometimes called the daily card when I do workshops at Children's Hospital in the state of Washington and other places where drink your water, have your vitamins, write in your journal, whatever it is. Just a little reminder of these things. These are all little things that keep you on the right track. whether it's the service that you're in or the businesses that we're all in. It's a lot of stress out there. Embracing a lifestyle and an attitude of gratitude can change and can transform a life. I truly believe as I stand here today, I would not be here if I decided to not embrace gratitude. I think it can save a life. I think it saved mine. I think it can save yours too. Thanks a lot. I think you guys can split. Oh, damn.